We're now going to look at a second example in our section on confidence intervals. Before we get to the example, I just want to remind you of the formula that we'll be using. This is the same formula that you saw in the early lecture notes online, and it's the same formula that we used in the last presentation. Now, the example that we use is very similar to the first one that we did. The first example asks us to find the 95% confidence interval for this situation. Now we're being asked to find the 99% confidence interval for this situation. So let's go ahead and do the calculation, and then I want to talk with you a little bit about the difference between the 95% and the 99%. Alright, so we know that the middle school principal wishes to estimate the average number of hours that 7th grade students study each week. The standard deviation from a previous study, remember that from a previous study means that this is the standard deviation of the population. We know that that's 2.6. The principal randomly surveys 45, that's going to be your sample size, 7th grade students, and finds the mean study time per week is 8.7. And remember that we talked in the last presentation about how this is the mean of the sample because it's referring to the 45 students. We want to find the 99% confidence interval for the population mean. And so if we go back to our formula and we look at the 99% confidence interval, we see that the z-score that goes with that is 2.58. Okay, so now we have everything that we need in order to plug into our formula and work the problem. So I'm going to jot our formula right here. And then we're going to put our information in and do the calculation. Alright, so once we have our formula down, let's go ahead and plug our numbers in. So for the x bar, we'll put in 8.7. For our z alpha over 2, we're putting in 2.58. Our standard deviation is 2.6. And our sample size is 45. And remember that the other side is exactly the same, except we have a plus instead of a minus. Alright, so now we're ready to put this in our calculator. So you could go ahead and take your calculator and type it in. Remember that you don't have to do anything different or special in terms of entering it into your calculator. You can just type it in exactly like it appears on the screen. And of course, if you find that you're having trouble putting it in the calculator correctly, please feel free to send me an email and let me know, and I can help you. You can always send a screenshot of your calculator screen, and I can then look at it and hopefully be able to tell you what you're doing wrong. Alright, so I am getting rounded to 2 decimal places. 7.70 for the smaller value, and for the larger value 9.6999, so that would be 9.70, and that would be my answer. So again, remember what you're doing, that you are using the mean of the sample to make a prediction about the population. So this is your average for the 45 students. We've now expanded that to estimate the average for all students, not just the 45. Okay, so let's talk just a second about what the confidence levels mean. The confidence levels is a probability that the average that you're trying to estimate is actually in between those two numbers. So we have said that the reason that we do this is because populations are too large to calculate anything based on a population. Populations When you think about all of the 7th grade students in America, that would be way too many to do any sort of calculation on. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that we could take every 7th grade student in America and we could calculate their average number of hours that they study. So when I say that I'm 99% confident, what I'm saying is that I'm 99% sure that that average that I would calculate from all the 7th grade students is between 7.7 and 9.7. Now, I can't be 100% sure. 99% sure is the best I can be. The only way I can be 100% sure is to actually go and ask every 7th grade student how many hours they spend studying. And again, that's not practical. But a 99% confidence interval means that I'm 99% sure that the average for all 7th grade students is in between these two numbers.